Sadly, I don't think that we've seen the total sum of consequences that we will eventually see from this sexual behavior that's so prevalent.
Indeed, research indicates that when adolescents learn they are infected with an STI, they are prone to a much higher prevalence of depression than those without STIs. What is to become of this generation that has lost itself in nefarious behaviors that compromise their abilities to form stable families? There are currently 70 million Americans living with sexually transmitted infections in the U.S., and each year there are approximately 19 million new cases of sexually transmitted infections documented by the CDC, of which 50% are under the age of 25. The implications are so serious that it puts into doubt whether our youth can form stable families and meaningful relationships that are life-giving. It appears that the sexual revolution of the 1960s may have left us with a cheapening of the sexual experience and the corruption of the minds, souls, and now the bodies of our youth. Is there any wonder that this egotism, complicated by the sexual revolution, has led to a misuse of sexuality for gratifying our own desires? The evidence right now points towards this separateness pervading the American landscape as a root cause of isolation, depression, and anxiety. We see it in our broken families and relationships.
Contraception and abortion have really changed the nature of sexual outcomes, right? It's mentally changed how Americans think about sex and relationships. A lot of dynamic things have happened in the realm of sexuality in the last 50 or 60 years. Unbelievable, right? I mean, introduction of the pill changed everything, right?
The highly controversial teaching of the Catholic Church's Magisterium on Human Contraception, published by Pope Paul VI under the title Humanae Vitae, teaches with clarity that it is a serious error to think that a whole married life of otherwise normal relations can justify sexual intercourse, which is deliberately contraceptive and so intrinsically wrong. The consequences of contraception, the Pope had warned, could open wide the way for marital infidelity and a general lowering of moral standards. The Pope's concern had become possibly the most prophetic warning of his pontificate, because very promptly, societal morals dramatically slipped and brought us to an era governed, in the words of Pope Benedict XVI, by a dictatorship of relativism. But there is another problem. We do not comprehend suffering. Physical and emotional sufferings compromise us and cause us to accentuate our concerns about ourselves. It is true that we whimper before suffering and desire to escape this unpleasantness with the use of analgesics and antidepressants. Father Grew argues that it is precisely the rebellion against suffering rather than the submission to suffering that creates restlessness and revolt. He emphasizes that the goal is to surrender to the suffering, forgetting, as it were, ourselves, our pleasures, self-esteem, self-love, and pride, and to joyfully aspire to attain a blessed state. For it is in the state of self-annihilation that the souls find sweet repose, because it is taught by the Catholic Church that those who can approach the most holy cross are given graces to desire sweet friendship with Jesus Christ in suffering.